Hey, history folks. It's weird not having you guys here at 8 o'clock every morning, but I hope you guys are awake and doing what you need to be doing this week. So it's Thursday, so you're probably tired and you're very much ready to be done with all this online stuff. So I just want to take a few minutes and I wanted to talk to you about the Venn diagram that we made last week. I'm going to use Mr. Caleb Grover's because he always has beautiful handwriting. So as you can see, remember the Venn diagram that we made here? And so over here we had the Senate and the differences between the Senate. And then we had the House of Representatives and the difference between them two. And then the middle, remember, was how they were alike. So we're going to kind of go through some of those just to jog your memory. So the Senate, if we can do this together. The Senate, remember, you have to be at least 30 years old in order to run to be a senator, okay, to run for the Senate. For the House of Representatives, you have to be at least 25 years old, okay? So senator is 30 years old, representative is 25 yees old. For the Senate, you have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 9 years, okay, 9 years. And then for House of Representative, you have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years. Okay, you guys remember talking about that as well? All right, so in the Senate, whenever you are elected, you serve a 6-year term. Okay, for the House of Representative, you only serve a 2-year term. Okay, we talked about that, how the difference is. Remember, representatives get elected every 2 years. Senators, only 1/3 of the Senate gets elected every 2 years. Okay, but they're 6-year terms. They are both alike because they both have to be a resident of their legal state. That's what we had talked about. They both have to. So if you're representing Missouri, you have to live in Missouri. Okay, remember all that talking? All right, so this is whenever I was gone on last Friday to go to a meeting, so this was what your sub went over, so I want to make sure that you hear it from me as well. So on the Senate, elections are held in November of even numbers with 1/3 of the senators. Okay, and then for representatives, the elections are held in November of even numbers for all representatives. So the alike is they're both held in November. All elections are held in November, even presidential elections. Okay, that's something that's going to come up here in a couple weeks. All right, so in the Senate, the vice president is the person that's in charge. He's the person that's in charge of the Senate. But in the House of Representatives, the leader is called the Speaker of the House. Okay, that's the person in charge. So the Senate is the vice president, and on the representative, it's the Speaker of the House. All right, so another thing that's alike is each house has Republicans and Democrats. Okay, remember we talked about Republicans and Democrats and the majority and the minority leaders of those parties inside each house. Okay. All right, on the Senate, each state only has 2 senators, so there's only 100 senators total. But in the House of Representatives, Missouri there's 8 representatives based on the population, so that totals for the entire United States, there are 435 representatives. Okay. For the Senate, they are in charge of holding impeachment hearings, but only after the Senate, they have to begin the impeachment process. So the representatives are the ones that have to start the impeachment process, but the Senate is the one that does the trial for it. Okay, there's a difference there. So how they are alike, in the middle, that was our last one of alike, was they have to check and they have to balance each other. Okay, so neither one is more important than the other. So they check and they balance each other, just like in that video talks about that we watched before you watched mine. All right, the Senate, they have the majority of the Senate are Republicans. Okay, they hold the Republican majority, but in the House of Representatives, they have a Democratic majority. Okay, so the Democratic people or representatives there are the majority there. Also in the House of Representatives, they select the president when no candidate has sufficient votes. Okay, so only the House of Representatives can select the president, but the Senate, they can select the vice president when no candidate has sufficient votes. Okay, so there's a big difference. And then the last big difference we talked about was the House of Representatives, they initiate bills to raise money and taxes, so they focus more on the tax end. But the Senate, they approve treaties and high officials. So only in the Senate can they approve peace treaties that we make with other countries, and then they approve, like, if there's a judge that wants to be on the Supreme Court, they approve that as well. Anybody that's a high official. Okay, so those are the big differences between the Senate and the House of Representatives on the Venn diagram. Okay, so what I want you to do in our journal, which I put a description up there as well, but I want you to write about which would you rather do. And you got started on this on Friday, but I don't think you guys finished it. So I want you to restart, rethink about it, and which house would you rather work in, or would you rather vote for, or be voted into? So would you rather work in the Senate, or would you rather work in the House of Representatives? And then tell me why you would want to be in there. So why would you want to be a senator, or why would you want to be a representative? And then what laws would you want to pass and why you would want to pass those laws? Okay, remember, you can ask me any questions. Let me know if there's anything that you need. Hoping to see you guys in a couple weeks. See ya.